With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Single Muslim Live, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com with me, Anisah Jaffary. We are live here on Sky Channel 752 and across YouTube, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Wherever you are watching this evening, a very warm welcome to the show. You can also join in with tonight's discussion by simply calling into the studio with the number 01924 231 083. Why not contact us via WhatsApp in confidence with the number 07950 797 017. With tonight's discussion, we will be talking about why wear the hijab. Now, this is a very important topic, and I would like to introduce our guest speaker for the evening. This is one of Indonesia's ambassadors for World Hijab Day, the lovely sister Trifty Qurrota Aini.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam, Trifty. How are you this evening?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm good. I assume the time difference is a little bit different, so I presume it's the morning for you?
Yes, it's around 4 a.m. here, Fajr prayer time.
Oh goodness, early morning. So I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for coming onto the show this evening. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
No, that's great. So the topic for this evening is why wear the hijab. So I just kind of want to talk a little bit an introduction with you and talk us a little bit about why you started wearing the hijab and what it means to you.
All right, so maybe before answering your question, I'll start off by sharing my personal experience, how I started to wear hijab. Well, I was born Muslim in Indonesia, and since I was 6 years old, I went to the mosque after school every day to learn Quran and to learn Islam. And by the time learning Quran, of course, I learned about hijab too. So for me, hijab is a religious commandment, and I learned that there are so many verses in Quran that Allah commands women to wear hijab, including in chapter 24, known as An-Nur, in verse 31. Also in chapter 33, known as Al-Azhar, verse 59. So eventually, at the age of 12, I decided to wear hijab because, well, it's Allah commandment in Quran. And so that's why for me, like I understood at the time, I've been trying to be a good Muslim as best as I could. And I believe that hijab can protect and increase the spiritual light for me.
Right, of course. Sorry, I think we're losing a little bit of service. Can you hear me, Trifty?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, that's brilliant. So I just want to interrupt you there and just ask, would you say your relationship with the hijab is very strong?
Yeah, I can say that, yes, because I understand that the purpose of wearing hijab is to protect women from harassment.
Of course.
So for me, I do believe that this is the way how Allah loves women. And also, like, hijab is worn for modesty reasons. So people could judge me based on my character rather than what I look like.
Of course, and just with what you said, I completely agree with you. Although it's for a religious purpose, it does represent modesty and it does represent privacy and a sense of morality. Often, a lot of people would say that in the media, Muslim women, hijab is like yourself, are labelled as oppressive and are kind of labelled as someone that has been forced to wear the hijab, or maybe their husband or the spouse has told them to wear that. What would be your view on this?
Yeah, actually, about being oppressive, I do believe that some women really wear hijab came from their heart. Like I said before, I no one told me to wear hijab, and it came from my heart. So some women really like and love their hijab. So about being oppressive, I think that's how hijab is described on media. However, I should highlight here the media that I'm talking about is Western media. It's not media in general because it's different thing with the media in my country. Well, no wonder because Indonesia has the
Of
largest Muslim
course, of
population.
course.
Yeah.
Just
So
to
it's
interrupt you.
being oppressive just all
Oh,
right.
sorry, sorry to interrupt you there. So you just mentioned that obviously in Indonesia, the media is a lot more different to how it is with us. Looking at the media within a different perspective, would you say it's very negative towards Muslim women who wear the hijab?
In Indonesia.
Well, in Indonesia, how is it within the media? Would you say it's a lot more positive, or would you say that they're not justifying Muslim women as oppressive, or they're kind of advocating it more positively than it being negative?
All right. Actually, how hijab portrayal in Western media and in my country, for instance, is totally different
Okay.
because no wonder that, as I mentioned before, like Indonesia has the largest Muslim population. So actually, I want to explain you how hijab is portrayed on news and Western movies. Actually, news and Western movies are part of media here. So the news represent hijab as an oppression and something threatening for the Western society. So Muslim women are perpetuated on mainstream media as outsiders and the members of the religion that doesn't promote Western values. So most of articles and news misrepresent an aspect of Muslim behavior, belief, and identity in Western media, actually. But media in most populated Muslim country will, of course, portray hijab as something positive.
So it's a lot more positive in Indonesia than you would say as it being in the Western countries.
Yeah, for sure. Like media in my country will encourage women to wear hijab for sure.
Of course. And the thing is, with
And
the...
also,
Yeah, of course. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to add a little bit, as I mentioned before, I want to explain how hijab is portrayed in Western movies. Sometimes in Western movies, there are some stories, like movies can form people perspective about hijab. Movies in the United States describe hijab as the women, describe hijab as women who want to liberate themselves from conservative Muslim parents. So sometimes movies really describe hijabis as something negative, you know.
Of course, and I agree with that. Sometimes in movies, it can be portrayed negatively, and with it being misled, I feel like wearing the hijab is about representation. It's about acknowledging the religion, and it's also a sense of identity.
Yes. So the World Hijab Day is actually a support system for sisters all around the world. Because in World Hijab Day, we educate people about hijab and we introduce hijab to the whole society. So we've been trying to decrease the level of hijab phobia. So we try to tell people that you don't need to be scared while seeing hijabis, something like that.
You know, I agree with what you're saying there, but do you feel as though the media plays a part with the rise of Islamophobia for example, Muslim women wearing the hijab, and with it being so negative in articles, there is a, sudden rise in Islamophobia. There is a rise of Islamophobia.
Pardon?
So do you feel as though within the media, they kind of implement the rise of Islamophobia, with the comments that are made as opposed to Muslim women being as oppressed?
Yeah, like all the media, I mean, most of the media in Western media always portrayed like hijab is something really oppressive. And hijab, so the implication of this, like hijab is will be described as something threatening for the Western society. So I mean, like the negative stereotypes increase the level of hijab phobia. You know, like sisters in some countries are struggling to fight hijab phobia, like what's happening in Canada and Belgium. There's something called Bill 21 in Canada, in Quebec, which prevents people from wearing the hijab, you know. So also in Belgium, so many hijab bans, and Muslim women are forced to choose between education and hijab. Hijab ban that happening in some countries is also the impact of hijab portrayal in media.
Of course. And, you know, how would you feel that the hijab empowers, you know, people like yourself? You know how you've mentioned that there is a ban on hijabs, and that can put a strain on people for those who are wanting to wear the scarf. So what advice would you give someone, you know?
All right. As I mentioned before, I grew up in Indonesia, but I do have experience living as a minority Muslim in the UK. So 4 years ago, I lived in Newcastle upon Tyne. So I understand the sisters, how the struggle of the sisters, because I had experience living in the UK. So all of the suggestions that I can give to tackle the fear of hijab phobia is building support systems. You can get a support system from yourself, from Muslim community in your city and non-Muslim community around you. So what I mean by creating support system from yourself is by strengthening your iman. So you will feel that Allah is always be with you wherever you go, and building a deeper connection with Muslim community in your city is also the way how you build the support system. You know, you can get involved in some activities at mosques or attending Islamic lectures and joining Islamic societies.
Of
Then
course.
you will get more friends.
No, of course.
So you will
There's
you
so
feel
many.
like you're not alone.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Trifty, but we are going to be going on to a break. So we will carry on with this question, and then after the break, we will be discussing more topics on this discussion. So we will see you shortly soon.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Earlier, before the break, we were discussing some topics on why we wear the hijab and the importance behind it. So, Trifty, we do have a question anonymously from WhatsApp, and the question is, Salam, I hope Anisah Jaffary is enjoying her first time on the show. Yes, just a little bit nervous. My question for both of you is, what is your ethnicity? And do you think there is too much pressure on some Muslim girls on wearing the hijab?
Why there's so many pressure for women wearing hijab?
Yes, so the first one is, what is your ethnicity? So both of ours. So I'm Pakistani and you are?
All right. I'm Indonesian, actually. I'm Indonesian.
Okay.
And Indonesia has the largest Muslim population in the world.
Yes, and the question is, do you think there is too much pressure on some Muslim girls to wear the hijab?
Actually, in my country, no pressure for women or even Islamophobia or hijab phobia barely found here. Like everyone is encouraged to wear hijab in my country. So there's no pressure to wear hijab or not in my country.
Okay. For me and, for people living in the UK, I don't feel that there's pressure. I kind of feel as though wearing the hijab is your own preference. Like you said earlier, that you wore it of your own free choice. However, I do feel as though social media does play a huge, it does play a huge role and a huge part, because there is a stigma within social media on how you must dress and how you must act. And if you wear the hijab, how you must wear the hijab, and, hair cannot be showing, and how you have to dress within modesty. So I feel as though because of the kind of expectations that people have, it is very off-putting for somebody who wants to start wearing the hijab. So I do feel like there is a lot of pressure with that.
Well, actually, about social media, of course, it gives influence on how women think about the hijab. But, first of all, like, it's not only about the social media, it's also about the cultures that people have, how they see the hijab, and about the pressure that women feel on social media. Sometimes it happens sometimes, but I think most of the cases nowadays, social media have put a good impression over hijab to everyone. Because, like, hijab fashions is already grow up, has been increasing.
But what would be, Trifty, just to interrupt you there, what would be your view on somebody who wears the hijab but also kind of wears it, so like you're wearing it the correct way, of course, but everybody has their own way of wearing the hijab. But what would you say to somebody who wears it and, they have hair strands showing, or they have hair showing on their hair, on their head, and it's not fully covered? What would be your take on that?
Okay, about it, yeah, sometimes, people telling sister to take their hijab off when some hairs shown, but to be honest, it's not a wise action to telling the sisters to take the hijab off while the hair shown. And like, if we do that, it might push them further away from Islam. And everyone has their own process, has their own journey, and we have no right to judge anyone based on how perfect their hijabs are. Only Allah can decide who are good people or not.
I absolutely agree with you there, Trifty. Sorry to interrupt you there again. I 100% agree. And I also believe that we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer to. So however you wear the hijab, everybody has a journey, whether it is hair strands showing, whether it's, you're having a different style in your hijab. Everybody has their own kind of preference. And like myself, I used to wear the hijab at 18 years old, and I struggled with it. And the reason why I struggled with it was because I wasn't fully committed to it. Although I used to wear it all the time, I felt as though I wasn't kind of doing it for the right reasons. And it was very, very difficult to keep on top of that. So for myself and for my own sanity, I decided to not wear the hijab until I was fully ready. Because I faced a lot of...
Yes.
Of course. And I faced a lot of backlash. I faced a lot of comments of people telling me that you have your hair strands showing, you're wearing the hijab incorrectly, it's not the right way to wear it. So that really put me off, and that also kind of made me not want to wear the hijab. So it's very difficult to say.
Yeah, because, we should respect people's journey, and, the journey of wearing hijab might be different from one another. And some people might take a longer process to accept hidayah or something like wearing hijab. They need long process to learn the hijab, but some others not. So what I mean is, we just should be kind to anyone, because we never know what is someone going through.
Of
something
course.
like that.
And it's, wearing the hijab is not kind of, a 1 minute thing, or like a kind of discussion that you can kind of have with yourself and just do it. It's a process, and it's a full-time commitment. So you have to be very careful that when you're wearing the hijab, you have to fully commit to it, because there is a lot of responsibilities that come with the hijab. For example, dressing modesty, and also praying. And just because you don't wear the hijab doesn't mean you're not religious. And I feel like a lot of people kind of misjudge that if you don't wear the hijab, you're not religious. You don't pray.
Yeah, our sisters might be not perfect yet, but maybe in the future they will be better if we keep support them,
Of course.
Just don't judge anyone.
Yes, of course. And Trifty, I do really want to ask this question. It's kind of like a controversial topic, but I really, really want to address this with you. And that is, do you feel as though men look at women differently who wear the hijab as opposed to somebody that doesn't?
I think it depends on where he's from, but in Islam, hijab is the way how women is respected. You know, women are beautiful, and the beauty of the women are not for everyone. So some men, depend on what is his belief, they will respect more, but some others just see hijabis and non-hijabis just same thing.
Of
So it
course,
depends on the
of course.
personality.
And, you know, I partly agree with what you're saying, but then partially no, just because if you don't wear the hijab doesn't mean that a man shouldn't look at you differently. You know, I feel like men should look at you. If you're wearing the hijab, I understand that a man will look at you with more respect, but if you're not wearing the hijab, they should look at you the same way. You know, at the end of the day, we're not objects. We are women, and we deserve that kind of respect, regardless of us wearing the hijab or not wearing it, you know?
Yeah.
Of course.
True. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Trifty, do you believe that some people feel as though wearing the hijab might limit them into doing activities or might limit them into like their job roles or whatever they want to do?
No, I don't believe it, because I've seen so many hijabis can work and can reach their dreams, any kind of dreams. Hijabis can achieve it. Like I can see like hijabis are working as journalists, and some hijabis working as an athlete or anything. Hijab is not a barrier to reach our dreams. So I've proved it. Like I've seen everywhere, so many hijabis have got some achievements, you know, like, yeah, I don't believe it.
Of course, and I just feel like it's something that we must apprehend and understand that just because you wear the hijab doesn't mean you cannot limit yourself into doing anything. You know, we have, you know, over the last few years, social media has become one of the biggest kind of platforms with, you know, Muslim bloggers, and we have so many people that we look to. And just because you wear the hijab, it's a powerful statement, and you can, you know, you can be a hijabi and be a surgeon, you can be a makeup artist, you could be a doctor, you can be anything that you want. You do not have to limit yourself, and Islam does not teach that. And wearing the hijab should not limit you into doing anything. In fact, it's, you know, wearing the hijab it powers you and it makes you stronger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, even like hijab is something empowerment for some hijabis, you know, like hijab empower yourself. Sometimes hijab change yourself to be better, you know, you have a better character. Like as I mentioned before, like hijab sometimes can protect our heart, the light, spiritual lights, and also like I said, like it can empower you to
Of
be
course.
anything you want.
Right, Trifty, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you there. Although as much as we are enjoying ourselves, we are going to go into a short break and we will be discussing more topics on why we wear the hijab. So stay tuned and we'll be back very shortly.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the show with me and Trifty. Whilst we were discussing the topic, why wear the hijab. Now, Trifty, before the break, we did have an anonymous person messaging us on WhatsApp. So the message is, it is so nice to see a hijabi and non-hijabi sisters on the show. You both are very inspiring. My question is, do you think wearing the hijab has more negative connotations than positives?
Honestly, what I feel about hijab is always have positive connotation, because Sometimes how people see hijab will depend on the people experience towards hijab. Do people have bad experience about hijab, or how they feel about hijab and the environment and about the friends that they have? So sometimes depends on people experience. But personally for me, because all of the things about hijab is positive for me, so I don't find any negative connotation about hijab.
Of course. Well, for myself, I feel as though there are, I mean, more negatives than positives. I can understand where they're coming from, and I think that's mainly surpassed from the media and how the social, how the media has kind of like personified Muslim women and how they wear the hijab, and just comments like being oppressed and being forced to wear the hijab, and also the choice of that they don't have a choice, but they have to wear it. So I kind of get that, but I do feel as though now within social media platforms like Instagram, it's such a big platform to kind of have, to go out there and speak to Muslim sisters who are wanting to wear the hijab. And I just think it's a great platform because there's so many bloggers out there and people like yourself, Trifty, that can give advice and help people who are wanting to wear the scarf. So I do feel as though there are negatives, but in terms of social media and people out there, it is weighing out the positives a lot.
Yeah, like I said before, like every person's experience about hijab, how they see hijab, how they feel about things related to hijab will be different because everyone has a different environment,
Of course.
different situation. Like people in one country and another country will have different opinion about hijab because we have different cultures as well and social circumstances.
Of course, and I feel as though in Indonesia it's very different wearing the hijab as opposed to wearing it, for example, in the UK, and I feel as though there isn't that much pressure. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that there is that much pressure within Indonesia wearing the hijab as opposed to as it is in the UK, or maybe that people here might find it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, like Muslim women sometimes face the preconceived notion how they should wear hijab and the image of hijab. Women sometimes face the preconceived notion because of the influence of the cultures and social system existing in each country. For instance, um, you can find hijabis in every countries, Western countries, African countries, Asian countries,
Of course, everywhere.
and yeah, but there will be different types of hijab that you can find women in Middle East countries like Saudi Arabia. They wear black and they wear abaya in public. But if you come and visit countries like Indonesia and Malaysia, they will wear colorful hijab and they will have more choice to wear hijab, what kind of style they want to wear. So, like I said before, everything related to social system existing in their country, in each country.
Of course, so everyone is different, and I completely agree with you. I feel as though, like you said, in Saudi, they wear they wear the whole, the jilbab and the niqab, the burqa, everything. But that's everywhere. I feel as though if you want to wear if you want to wear the niqab and the burqa, then you are obliged to. But I also feel as though it just depends on the person, really, Trifty. It depends on if the person is ready to take that next step, because wearing the hijab in itself is a big step. And like I said earlier, it comes with a lot of commitments as well.
Yeah. Of course, like even in the UK, it might be different if you live in the south and the north because sometimes Muslim population are more in the south. So, like I said before, even like the fashion, I feel like turban is something common in Western countries like United States and the UK, but you cannot wear turban in Saudi Arabia. So, like I said before, like everything depends on the cultures as well, how they see job, the experience, and the cultural around them.
Of course. Just to interrupt, sorry to interrupt you there, Drifty, but we do have a question again anonymously on WhatsApp. And this is from someone who's just said, as this is a dating show, alhamdulillah, could I ask you to what is the best way to approach a Muslim sister who I never met, for example, if she is a hijabi, and how do I make a good first impression? I'm very shy and nervous a little bit.
Okay, approaching someone can be really tricky
Nerve-wracking.
sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
it's not
scary.
really easy. Yeah. So the best thing is to talk personally with her and something general first, and then you can talk something. You can try to find the common interest between you and her. And then if you have already comfortable each other, then you can go further with the next conversation. If you want to talk about Islam or hijab or whatever, just get closer first and talk about common things. Get to know what is her interest.
Of
The
course.
common interest between you and her.
Of course, and I think that's one of the most important things, because you don't want to be speaking to someone and you guys are complete opposites, you know? And you go on a first date and you both are just not, you're not connecting and you're not enjoying yourselves, and it's just a very awkward time. But the advice I would give, approach a Muslim sister who I've never met, for example. Okay, so the best advice I would be is, like yourself, find the common interest, but kind of start a conversation, a very normal conversation, a simple start of, hello, hi, what's your favorite meal? Kind of like a normal conversation.
You can ask about fashion or what kind of dress you like, something just about women things.
Yeah, see if you guys watch the same Netflix show, anything that will have a common interest between you two. So I think that's very important. Now, obviously, a first time speaking to someone is very nerve-wracking. We've all kind of been in that situation. We all have the butterflies in our stomach and we all get very afraid. But like I said, the best advice to give is to kind of see the common interest, see if you guys, get along. And then if you do, then take it to the next step, which would be, a meal, coffee, and take it from there. But just relax and don't be as nervous. It's not as scary as it seems.
Yeah, just enjoy the process. Don't really jump or in a rush to get closer, It takes time.
Of course, of course. And that's what it is with relationships, you've got to take your time with it. It's not something that can be rushed in the process.
Yeah. This kind of building relationship. Yeah, it just takes longer time to get deeper and deeper connection.
Of course. And Trifty, another question in terms of dating and, relationships. What advice would you give to hijabis who are wanting to, take it to the next step and maybe meet a spouse for themselves?
Okay, talking about relationship, personally, I think it depends, like every person has a priority, which character that will be on the top priority, whether it's about the deen or the, the faith or the character or the maturity or whatever, but just try to follow Prophet Muhammad's advice to prioritize the deen or the faith first.
Of course. I agree with that, but then I also feel as though deen and character are the two most important things, when finding a spouse. You have to make sure that the deen is correct and also the character, because at the end of the day, you're spending the rest of your life with this, you're spending the rest of your life with a spouse. So you've got to make sure that this is the right decision. However, I also believe that, for hijabis and for non-hijabis, in terms of finding a spouse, it is hard. And the best advice I would give is be sure you're ready to take on that next step. And if you are and things go well, 100% get the parents involved. Try to get the families involved, not as quick as possible, but within time.
Yeah, you're right. And also just have a look to, his emotional intelligence. See how he's angry while he's in anger. Look at his anger. Is he still keep calm or?
Of course.
How?
And Trifty, I 100% agree with you there. You've got to make sure that this is the right decision. So you've got to see them on a bad day, on a good day, and how you both can come together as, as a relationship, as couples, and see if you can, resolve the situation. Because, yes, you have the honeymoon period after you get married, but it all starts when you start living together. And, the best advice that anyone ever has given me is you don't know a spouse or you won't know anyone until you live with them. you know? So you've got to make sure that you guys tick the criteria and you're ready to take it to the next step.
Yeah, you're right. Just try to build conversation and see if you feel comfortable with him with unlimited topics, or while you're talking to him, do you feel like you try to find topics or topic just come up by itself?
Of
So
course.
yeah,
Of course.
just
Yes.
chemistry and compatibility are important.
Yeah, chemistry is important and compatibility is so important. You know, you can't be on a date with someone where it's chalk and cheese or like Marmite or like pizza. It just wouldn't go. So you have to make sure that the compatibility levels are very high, and you know, you guys are getting on and enjoying yourselves really with, you know, with the process.
Yeah, and just make sure you have the same vision and mission too. Like you need to go through the same direction with the person.
Of course, 100%. But Trifty, do you feel as though it's a lot more difficult for hijabis to find a spouse as opposed to somebody who doesn't wear the scarf?
I don't think so. If you want to find the right person, just go to the right place. For instance, just go to the mosque, and then you find so many pious future husband there. Maybe if you want to, I mentioned before, if you want to find the right partners or future husbands, just go to the right place. You can visit mosques,
Okay,
and hopefully
yes, of course.
you meet someone there.
Sorry about that, Trifty. I am just going to interrupt you there. We are going into a break, so join in with us after the break.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Me and Trifty were discussing, do you feel as though it is a lot more difficult for Muslim, hijabis that are wanting to go on dates than opposed to the non-hijabis? Do you feel as though it's harder for them to find a spouse?
No, I don't think so. Like I mentioned before that if you want to find the right guy or right partner, just go to the right place. So just keep good, positive, and pious friends on your circle. So hopefully it will help you to find good partners.
Of course, but Trifty, where is the right place to look for someone? I mean, okay, you go to the mosque, but how can you be so sure that that's the right person? You try. Where do we look?
So many Islamic activities. You can join Islamic societies at mosques or at universities or anywhere. So many Islamic organizations. And from that, you can meet so many good friends, and your good friends can introduce you to their relative, that maybe have the same desire or the same life concept for the future life, for the marriage. Yeah, that's what I mean by keep good friends in your circle.
Of course, but Trifty, I can assure you, it's very hard to find a spouse in university. That's it. All my friends told me, you'll find them in university, you'll find them in college. No. But like you said, you've just got to look in the right places. But I also feel as though sometimes it's within Allah's qadr and it's whenever it's written for you. So in the meantime, just pray and just stay positive and just kind of, just wait, I guess. Wait in the right places,
pray,
like you said.
Allah.
Ask Allah, or just wait in the coffee shop. Trifty, I also want to ask, do you believe that some hijabis face preconceived notions? So do you feel as though that they have to look a certain way because they're wearing the hijab? And why might that be?
All right, about preconceived notion, first of all, I can say we live in a society with so many cultures, and Islam is a religion practiced by people all over the world. Islam is not for Arabs only, and in other words,
It's for
you can
everyone.
find hijabis in everywhere, like Middle East countries, Western countries, African countries. You can find Islam in India, Korea, Denmark, Japan, China, or wherever. So what I mean is, each country has each social system that existing there. So about preconceived notion, Muslim women face these things because of the influence of the cultures that already existed in each country. Like I explained you before, how hijab worn is different between Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Malaysia, or even the UK and United States. Like the color that Muslim women wear in Saudi, they wear only black, but in other countries, they wear colorful hijab, and turban is not something common in Saudi, but so many Muslim women in the
What,
UK and the US wear turban.
of course, but what is your view on people that wear the turban? You know, what in the aspect that, you know, Muslim women that wear the hijab and they have the, I think it looks beautiful, you know, and I do not, I think, however a Muslim woman wants to style a hijab, you know, they look beautiful. But some people, obviously, you get the comments and you get them on social media platforms. But what is your own kind of perspective on that, Trifty?
All right. I can say that sometimes hijab nowadays can be seen as the youth culture, you know, because some youngsters really like to look stylish, so they want to wear turban. But again, like every woman has personal choice,
Of course.
personal decision what they want to wear. So sometimes hijab is actually religious thing, but it can be viewed as a cultural thing and practiced differently with by women in every country, you know.
By
Mhm.
that, do you mean as though it's kind of seen more as a fashion statement than it being for you know, for a religious significance?
You know, actually, what I mean is Islam and culture are not necessarily opposed as long as the objective of the culture still follow the Islamic aims. So, you know, hijab is all about dress and behave modestly, but as long as the hijab still follow the Islamic aims, it will be fine, something like that. But
Of
sometimes, well, women just still want to put fashion on it, you know.
Of course, and I completely agree with you on that perspective that, you know, you're wearing the hijab, but you have the right intentions, of course. And like I said earlier in the show, however, you know, somebody wears the hijab, we don't know the journey and we don't know. And, you know, for someone to even wear the hijab, you know, subhanAllah, it's such a blessing in itself to even go to that step. And, you know, what we can do as sisters, as Muslim sisters, is to kind of guide one another and to be there rather than, you know, being so negative about it. And on social media, you'll get the comments and you'll get the negativity. So it's nice to kind of have people like yourself, Trifty, that will advise people and kind of see it more in a positive light.
Yeah, just keep support each other with the other sisters. Don't judge anyone based on how perfect their hijabs are. You know, we are united as a Muslim community.
Of
So no
course.
matter what kind of hijab they want to wear, everyone has their own process and journey. We need to respect it, you know.
Of course, of course. But Trifty, also, what would, you know, I agree with this, but then what would you say for the Muslim women that have, you know, are maybe pressured into taking the scarf off? What would be your advice on that?
All right, like I said before, like just try to build a support system not only from Muslim community but also from non-Muslim community. You know, having good relationships with a non-Muslim is important too.
Of course.
Non-Muslims don't read Quran, but they read you as the ambassador of Islam.
Of course.
So I do believe that non-Muslim who hate Islam or hate hijabis are the ones who have less experience or even have no experience with Muslims before. So what I'm trying to say is just keep treating them good, being nice to them. So later it will be good impression. They will have good impression about hijab and about Islam, if you make friends with non-Muslims too, something like that. So you
Of
get
course.
support from them.
No, of course. And then I also feel as though, you know, Muslim women that have taken the scarf off sometimes, like myself, it's more so like the social kind of like pressure you get. And it's kind of like there is a stigma of how you must wear the hijab. And that kind of is very pressurizing for Muslim women. And it's very off-putting as well. You know, like I said, everybody has a journey and we must always respect that. As sisters, we must unite together as one ummah and, you know, kind of advise one another rather than bringing each other down.
Yeah, about taking the hijab off. More often than not, like people don't really think about the sister's struggle. The sister who take the hijab off must have the reasons why they take the hijab off. And I'm not trying to say like removing hijab is acceptable, but sometimes we should try to think in a deeper level. What have happened to them? Like, do they have lack of support? Are they scared of hijab phobia? So what I'm trying to say is we need to keep support them rather than judge or give a back of flash or something like that. So that's what I mean. Just keep support each other.
Of course. And just kind of unite, you know, together is definitely the best advice that you could give. Trifty, you know, with all your experience in wearing the hijab, have you ever like struggled with it? You know, within the years, have you ever had days where you just thought it's difficult?
To be honest, since I started to wear hijab at 12 years old, when I
Okay, wow.
started to wear hijab when I was 12 years old. So I didn't find any struggle about hijab since I'm living in
Of course.
Indonesia as well, but I do understand how it feels living as a minority Muslim because I lived in Newcastle upon time 4 years ago.
Right, okay.
So yeah, but I don't have really any struggle about hijab, to be honest.
Okay. And obviously in Indonesia, it's more common to wear the hijab. So it's, you
Yeah,
know, it's
it's
less.
like everyone wears it.
So would you feel as though if, for example, if I was to go to Indonesia and not wear the scarf, do you feel like I would feel as though more of an outsider?
Pardon?
Do you feel as though, for example, if I went to Indonesia and obviously don't wear the scarf, would I feel more of an outsider? Would I feel
No,
no?
No, because in Indonesia, most of women wear hijab, but you can see so many women do not choose to wear hijab as well. And we don't judge anyone if you want to wear hijab. If you want to not wearing hijab, that's fine. So you will be welcome here.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for that, Trifty. I look forward to that. But Trifty, I do want to say thank you so much for coming onto the show this evening. It has been great to have this topic with you, to discuss this topic with you. It's a very broad topic. So, you know, you've answered.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's been great. And, you know, some of the questions, I've learned a lot from you. So thank you so much for that. And thank you. And I also want to say thank you to the viewers and for those that have sent in all the anonymous questions via WhatsApp. It has been great to have you guys on the show and participate, and me being the first time hosting the show. So thank you so much. You guys have kind of allowed me to release the tension and nerves from today. But thank you again, Trifty, for coming onto the show. You have been great, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. I do also want to say thank you so much again to you guys. If you do want to participate with next week's show, please do message us in confidence on our number 07950 797 017, or you can also call us into the studio on 01924 231 083. Thank you so much for joining. It has been a pleasure having you guys on the show. From me, myself, and everyone in the studio, Assalamu alaikum.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.